So I often get asked who would I love to see sign for Newcastle United in January. And, you know, the names are out there, the big names are out there, but we have to be realistic. We're not going to sign those massive names anytime soon until we stabilise ourselves in the Premier League. That's just fact. They're not want to come into a relegation battle. We need players who will get us out of the situation that we're in at the minute and then look forward. But it's the players going the other way as well that interests me. And I've got a list of 7 players here. Now, I'm not saying these 7 are going to leave in January. I'd like to see them go for their own sake as well. But, you know, we probably might only get rid of 3 or 4. But we do need to free up some space in the 25-man squad because we are undoubtedly going to be bringing players in as soon as the window opens. But, you know, I know a lot of people want 10, 15 players out the door. That's not going to happen either. So we do have to be realistic. But here's the 7 that's on my list. See what you think.
Take me home to the banks of the riverside. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best. Yes, it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the riverside.
Hi everybody, I'm Paul, back again with another video, and today it is talking about who maybe could leave Newcastle United in the January transfer window. Before we get into that, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody that has recently subscribed to the channel. We are well over 6,500 now, heading towards the magical 7, so thank you very, very much for recently subscribing. Now, onto the list. As I say, I've got 7 players here. I'm not saying these 7 are definitely going to leave. This is just my opinion of who I think we should be targeting to move on to new clubs come January transfer window. Now, we'll start with the goalkeepers, and I've got Carl Darlow as the first one. It might surprise a lot of people that he's on the list, but to be honest, I think at his stage in his career now and where he's at, I think he wants first-team football. He's clearly not going to get that at Newcastle United. He's not established himself as number 1. He's had big opportunities to do that. You know, last season he was in a lot. This season he's in a lot. But as soon as Dubravka's been fit, Carl Darlow's gone to pieces for some reason. It's like he can't hack the pressure of somebody breathing down his neck and fighting for the number 1 position. He's made a few mistakes this season. Last season, you know, when he was playing, he saved a lot of points for Newcastle United. So let's not take that away from him. He did very, very well. So a little bit harsh, but I think for his own sake, and if he wants first-team football, he is going to have to move on and find another club. Now, I've got no doubt that he'll be in demand if somebody comes knocking. You know, maybe lower half Premier League side, maybe Championship side, and I'm under no illusions that he could force himself into a number 1 position with another team. So I think for his own sake and the fact that Newcastle United have been linked with goalkeepers coming in January, I think it's time that Carl Darlow moved on. The other goalkeeper I've got on there is Mark Gillespie, who has just been forgotten about, really, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he played in the Carabao Cup at Newport last season, made some terrible errors, was never seen since. And, you know, I think a probable move back to Scotland might suit him better, or somewhere like that. He's certainly not a Premier League goalkeeper, maybe not even Championship level. But again, I'm sure that Mark Gillespie is on a few smaller club radars that they could maybe come in and take away from Newcastle and give him the opportunity to play first-team football. You know, all about this list is, you know, who wants to go and actually challenge themselves to get first-team football, or are they happy just sitting on the backside getting a wage? Because, you know, hopefully these players on this list aren't like that, but only time will tell. So those are the 2 goalkeepers. Many people are also talking about Freddie Woodman. Now, Freddie Woodman would probably, in my opinion, go out on loan again. Do I think he's good enough to be a future Newcastle United number 1? I'm sorry, I don't. I've had that feeling about Woodman for a while. I think he's a very, very good Championship goalkeeper, without a shadow of a doubt. He's proved that when he's been on loan. But I think the Premier League step-up has been very difficult for him. He's struggled early doors, made some mistakes, and I think, you know, we have to be looking at probably moving him on eventually, but maybe on loan on January. It depends if we do bring another goalkeeper in, of course. Now, defender-wise, I've got 2 defenders on the list. The first one being Kieran Clark. Now, Kieran Clark took a lot of hammer for his sending off against Norwich City, but I'm not particularly looking at that. That's not the reason he's on this list. The reason he's on the list is because I don't think he's good enough anymore. Yes, he's very experienced, but he keeps making the odd mistake in the Premier League, and I think a Championship club would come in and take him. I've got no doubt about it that he could do a job in the Championship. You know, somewhere like Bristol City maybe, or just sort of a mid-table championship side, or you never know, maybe a championship side that is wanting to reach the playoffs and that want to, shore up the defence. I'm sure Kieran Clark would do a job for them. I just don't think he's got the pace or the quick thinking to be a Premiership defender anymore. We've seen that for real this season, so that's why Kieran Clark is on the list. And the other one is Emil Kraft. Now, the reason I've got Emil Kraft on the list is because, he'll be looking at the World Cup next year and wanting to be involved with Sweden. Providing they get there. I think they're in the playoffs. So you've got to look at that and think, right, if they get there, he is going to be wanting first team football to prove to the Swedish coaches that he is worth picking. I know he's established in there at the minute, but you look when the World Cup is, it's still 12 months away. A lot can happen in that time. If he's not playing regular first team football, then he might not make the squad for the World Cup. And he's got to take that into consideration. He's come in this season a few times and done a decent job. I don't think Emil Kraft has particularly been poor in the games he's played in. He's been beaten, certainly Arsenal, he looked a bit weak. But apart from that, he's been asked to come into the centre of defence, which is never an easy job in the first place, especially when you're a right back. So I think there'll be plenty of clubs around Europe looking at Emil Kraft and thinking he could do a job for us. Now, midfield-wise, the first one I've got on there is Jeff Hendrick. Jeff Hendrick he's never really settled at Newcastle, has he? Since we signed him, he's never been a mainstay in the midfield. When we did sign him, he played the first few games and it was clear that he wasn't good enough. He started well, of course. He started well by scoring at West Ham away. But after that, it's just gone downhill for him. He's pretty much on the subs bench every game now. Doesn't get much action. When he did come on against Wolves, he scored a great goal. But he's just not the type of midfielder, given that we're going to spend money in January. There's no doubt about that. And certainly a couple of midfielders will come in and are going to be way better than Jeff Hendrick. So I think he'll be further and further down the pecking order. So Jeff Hendrick for me is the first one. And the second one is Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff for me is just not the player that he was. Since he had that injury, I think it's always in the back of his mind for some reason. I think his distribution of the ball, certainly this season, has been dreadful. He hasn't set the world on fire at all. Even when he started or he's come on as sub, he's looked very poor. He does a lot of running around, but his tackling's not great either. I just don't know what's happened to Sean Longstaff because we all know the potential was there. The potential was there to be massive, a big player. Man United talk about interest in him a few years back, but that's all dwindled away now. It's gone. And his form has dropped so dramatically. And again, given that the club are going to be looking to bring in players in January, Sean Longstaff, is similar to Hendrick, is going to drop down the pecking order for me and isn't going to be involved at all. Now, obviously, his brother Matty Longstaff is away with Aberdeen at the minute. There's talk of him coming back in January. Now, again, does Matty even get in? He's not on my list because obviously he's out on loan at the minute and we have to see what happens with Matty. But certainly those two should look at new clubs. They really should. And the only striker I've got on the list is, of course, Dwight Gale. He just doesn't get opportunities at Newcastle anymore. And for me, it's quite clear that he's not very well fancied. We've got a lot of youngsters coming through, the likes of Elliot Anderson, Dylan Stevenson, who may be given a chance ahead of Dwight Gale. A lot of people are saying, well, Dwight Gale might start the FA Cup tie. That might be the case. But I think it's a perfect opportunity to give Dylan Stevenson and Elliot Anderson a chance. We've got to look at these youngsters at some point, and Stevenson is bagging the goals left, right and centre at the minute for the under-23s. We know what Elliot Anderson can do, so give them an opportunity. I think Dwight Gale is at the stage now where I've always thought he was a championship striker, to be honest. And, that's no disrespect to Dwight Gale. That's just my feelings on it. I think he's a championship striker. So I think a championship team could possibly look at him in January and think, right, are we pushing for the playoffs? Are we pushing for promotion? We could do with Dwight Gale, who is very experienced in the championship and scored a lot of goals at that level. So let's try and bring him in and see if he can sort of boost us on to get promotion. That wouldn't be a bad move for Dwight Gale. And I'm certainly thinking that he wants first team football now. He will not want to be stuck sitting on his backside for the rest of his Newcastle career. We give him a new contract, which I will never understand. I think that was ludicrous, to be honest. But, is it one of them? Is Dwight Gale a player that is now just happy to earn a wage and not play much football? I'd be disappointed if that was the case, but you never know. You never know. But I think he would do a fantastic job. at a championship team. But that is my 7 that I've got on my list. Obviously, I think there's a lot more that I'd love to see out the door, but unfortunately, realistically, that just isn't going to happen. It just isn't. So those are the players that we should realistically look at shipping out. I think maybe only 3 or 4 might leave in January, but you never know. You never know what's in football. But let me know in the comments below what you think of that list. Are they the sort of players that you've got on your list to go out the door in January? Or have you got somebody else on there? But be realistic about it. We're not going to ship Lascelles out. He's captain. He's not going anywhere. So there is some players that I think the fans want out the door, but they're just not going to happen because the manager's got them in the plans at the minute. But if you have enjoyed the video, guys, please do, as usual, hit that like button and help the channel to continue to grow. If you like what you see and you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing like so many people already have in recent days. And yeah, that is the list. Let me know what you think, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.